All right, this is Bolo Punch Boxing Hour, brought to you by George Rogie Insurance, www.bolopunchboxinghour.com. Streaming to you live, as always, on Ustream.tv. I'm your host, Chris Guzman. Emil Slutop-Levinsky, Kekabine, Timmy, producer Patterson, Nestor Garza-Romero. On the phone right now, I've got Boxing Hall of Famer, acclaimed writer, boxing historian extraordinaire. I've got Bert Randolph Sugar on the phone. Bert, what is going on tonight, man?
Well, it's like any other night. It's total confusion, Chris. I always feel like I just went in the pool to clean it, and I'm up to my backside in alligators. I'm so finished one book, the Baseball Hall of Fame book, which is doing very well, thank you. That's another one of my favorite sports, and I'm trying to finish another book here.
Well, you love every sport. I mean, you've written books about wrestling. You've written books about boxing, obviously, about baseball. What sports am I missing there?
Well, I've written books about horse racing. I've written books about basketball, football, and now I've finished a baseball book, and I'm starting another one. But boxing remains, as you know, my favorite sport, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Yes, sir. This sport has endured more than its share, and I do say more than its share, of tragedy. And we don't even have to count just the last year. I'm just talking the last 2 weeks. Just horrifying, the amount of death that we've been dealing with. And I'm talking about Alexis Arguello and, of course, Arturo Gatti. Who would you like to talk about first?
Well, Alexis, he was the greater fighter. I don't think there's a question.
Okay.
I'm still not comfortable with the reports coming out of Managua, Nicaragua, that he committed suicide by shooting himself 4 times in the chest. Something doesn't ring true there.
No, sir.
I have known Alexis for years, one of the nicest men I have ever met. An ambassador of the sport. He would be at the Boxing Hall of Fame every year. Did miss this one. And he'd just been elected mayor of Managua, Nicaragua. And Alexis wanted to do so much with that town, but I'm afraid on his way to doing it, he ruffled some feathers. He was once a Contra to the Sandinistas, then he became a Sandinista, and he barely won by more than 50% of the votes. All things considered, Alexis Arguello will be missed as much by boxing as by the Nicaraguan people. He had so much to offer. And this was a gentleman. Anyone who remembers his fight against Ray Boom Boom Mancini, where he knocked him out in the 14th round and went over to Mancini's father and said, "Your son will become a champion." But when he finished 2 fights with Alan Pryor, one of which was one of the great fights in boxing history, said, "I say goodbye to my friend, Aaron Pryor." This was a man, I always kidded him that he won the Omar Sharif lookalike contest. And without that mustache, he might have had no build at all, because he was exactly as he was advertised, the explosive thin man, or as they say in Spanish, Flaco de Explosivo. He was one of the greats.
The explosive thin man in Spanish, yep. Truly one of the greatest fighters I've ever met. You hit the nail on the head. As far as his boxing career goes, Bert, one of the most heart-stirring moments for me. I mean, you mentioned his fight with Boom Boom Mancini. I always loved his fight with Ruben Olivares, where afterwards he went to his.
That was a great fight. You have to remember, he came all the way up from featherweight to junior lightweight to lightweight and challenged for junior welterweight. Didn't matter whom he was fighting. He gave his best, and his best was a technical, great fight with explosivity. This was a man who can do anything and everything in the ring, and he will be missed, one of the great ambassadors of boxing.
Do you think he took a hit after the first Aaron Pryor fight for the whole Panama Lewis the mysterious bottle and all of that?
No. No, he was hitting Pryor in the early rounds so much so that Pryor's head looked like he was Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice. He had it spinning around.
Yes.
And you don't know what it was that was in that bottle. That's only been rumored. And if it was schnapps, as Panama Lewis said, no, the one I mixed. John L. Sullivan used to drink a pint between every round. I mean, what the hell are we concerned about? I don't think it had any bearing on Alexis. He was just worn down, and I think that, in all honesty, he was over the hill. He was past his prime by the time he got to Pryor, number one. And number two, Pryor was that good a fighter, and he was fighting at his weight. Alexis was coming up. I don't see anything in whatever that bottle contained having any bearing on the fight.
Okay. Well, if Bert Sugar says put that point to rest, then I will do that right now. Because people love talking about that black bottle. And that's 20 years ago. 25 years ago.
You know, he drank something, okay? It was a wonder he was still standing.
He wasn't just standing, he was throwing big time. But yeah. All right.
It was one of the most two-sided fights I've ever seen.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, I only got to sit and talk to him one time at the Hall of Fame at Graziano's. I got to sit and talk to him and his wife. He was truly a gentleman, completely. I mean, we had a discussion about politics, about the Latin American culture. It was an amazing conversation with the man. I will treasure that memory
forever. He was
forever.
exactly that. He was a gentleman and a gentleman.
Yes, he was.
Outside the ring, mind you.
Yeah, you know, and it was, like I said, it truly was an honor and a pleasure to sit and talk to him and his wife. And he thanked me for talking to him and his wife, because his wife was standing there. She didn't speak any English, so she was standing there basically all by herself, not having a conversation with anyone. It really was an honor to talk to both of them.
It was an honor to know him and an honor to watch him, and that's what'll be missed.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And then earlier this week, we have to deal with what, in my opinion, is the second boxing murder of the last 2 weeks. I think you're in agreement with me. There's
no question that he was murdered. I mean, here's a man who would take 10 punches to give one, and the only punch he couldn't give back was one that hit him to the back of the head.
Yeah, I just meant the second boxing murder, as in Arguello being murdered as well.
No, I accept that point.
Okay, all right.
Well, nobody will ever say that Arturo Gatti was a great fighter. He gave great fight. Which proves that it's not the man in the fight, it's the fight in the man.
Yes, sir.
Because Arturo Gatti, you sometimes believe that he'd start bleeding between Ose and Can You See? and yet be able to come back and back again. Unprecedentedly, he was the participant in 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, Ring Magazine fights of the year. How he would come back. Take Gabriel Ruelas as an example.
Yes, sir.
At the end of round 4, he was hit with 17, someone counted, punches, and saved only by the bell, and then reeled back to his corner and knocked out Ruelas the next round, the 5th.
Who does that? You need a Gatti type guy for someone to be able to do that.
He always fought as if he didn't want to live. I mean, if I were a lawyer, I'd just say the defense rests.
Yes. We were talking about his Joey Gamache fight, and actually several fights before that, where the weight that he would take off would then be put on, 24 hours later, and he would show up weighing 150, 155, even 160 pounds. Talk about that a second.
Weight problem. But the one thing you'll always remember, and it goes down as one of the great trilogies, is 3 fights with Mickey Ward. They were wars, just pure wars. And the irony is, Chris, they are now making a movie in Lowell, Massachusetts, and celebrating Mickey Ward in a movie called The Fighter. And here we are commemorating the death of the other half of that equation.
That's absolutely terrible. It's terrible that it had to happen this particular way. Let's go ahead and take a really quick break. We'll be right back, and we've got one more subject I want to run by you, and then we'll let you go. Let's take a really quick break. We'll be right back. This is Bolo Punch.